All right, back in the shop, working on the 37. I got the door cleat coat in place, have some templates made out of just 18 gauge. Shows the contour of the door, which is not much shape at all. And got a couple other ones for different areas of the door. I am going to make it from about the center of this section down, or I might go right under this bead here. I'm not sure. I probably do it straight through here, nice and flat, easy to finish off, and just do the whole thing. Because these fixes I did before, they're not perfect, and everything's kind of, these bullet holes were real close to the edge, and it kind of messed everything up. These are all junky. There's still some damage, obviously, at the bottom. So I'm just going to make from here down. So when I see guys replace door panels, door skins, usually they pick a bead line, weld at it or above it or right below it, replace the whole bottom. They do that to avoid warpage through the center of the panel. Say if I was just to cut it here and replace it from there down, it takes a lot more time to finish off a weld in the center of a panel than it does if it's like right in a spot here, because right here is real strong. It's got this bead, it's got this curl over, there's a lot of shape here. It's not really going to distort that much. That being said, I don't have a piece of steel wide enough, because all the steel I've been using so far have been like 32 inches by 36 inches. So I have to split it in half anyway. But the edges that I will be welding have just been cut on my shear, so they are perfect, and I shouldn't have much issue. This should be a really tight gap, and I'll just be able to pretty much fusion weld with a little bit of filler, and I'll finish it off on a planishing hammer, and it'll be fine. But just so you guys know, I'm going to have to make it in two pieces, and it'll be easier for me to handle on the English wheel instead of having this whole big piece and it flopping over the edge of the wheel. It's really not that good to do that. It kind of puts extra form and shape into the panel that you don't want, and since I'm a lone wolf here, I can't hold the other side of the panel when I wheel the other side. So cutting it in half makes it easier for me. Yes, there will be a seam down the center, but I'll try my damnedest to get it out and like it's never there. So let me set up this little Harbor Freight. We got the die in there now for this here. So there is some shape here. This is the shape I think I want to get into the panel first, because there's a low crown here, and then it kind of really flattens out in the center. Like this is almost dead flat right here. This is a curve, and then it kind of tips over to that side to meet up with how it curls around the body. But it's very slight. As you can tell with this, they're pretty much flat till it comes to here, and there's a slight arc upwards. So I'm going to set up my slip roll and put a slight curve of form into this panel, into this one, so it's the correct arc, and then I will start shaping up here. Put some shape into there and get it ready, because I already made this bead profile, this die, the step profile, joggle, whatever you want to call it, I don't care. I made it. So there's really not going to be too much fiddly fiddles, because it's already pretty much done. See? I already got it made. So I will Put some form into that, like I said, with the slip roll, tiny amount, doesn't need much at all. And then I will start wheeling that upper corner. Okay, so I got the dies in the Pomax now with the backstop on it. I am going to trim this at the line here, up the top one. That's going to be the backstop, so I need that to be perfect so this bead detail step becomes perfect. So yeah, let's trim that and smash it down. All right, where do we leave off? I was making the rear door. So I got the two halves shaped up. Coming out really well. It's an odd shape because it's like it has a slight radius here, low crown I should say, and then it gets more of a radius towards the ends to obviously kind of deal with that curve there. The center here is relatively flat, but the bottom kicks up. Slight reverse curve at the bottom, and there's reverse curves here because it comes out like this, but it also curls over. So I don't know if you can see the curl, and then I don't know. It's hard to get the right Yeah, you see the curl in these panels. Let's get a straight edge to show the curl in the other way. See? Curl this way and curl that way. Reverse curve. So now I think I'm going to stitch up this seam. Hopefully it's just going to be fusion because these seams are dead straight cuts from my shear. So I should be able to butt them up real nice. Fusion tack, hammer it flat if it needs to be, and then run across it with, I'll probably use tiny filler, 035 or something like that. My MIG wire that I keep on rolls here. Kind of pull it off when I need it, and use it as TIG filler because it's small. So I'll do that, butt up those gaps, weld it up. You've probably noticed I took the bead line, step line out of this panel. You saw me putting it in and I just took it out. It wasn't exactly the way I wanted it because on the original here, I made this little template to go here, but it's not long enough to reach the ends. I thought the arc was the same, but it's not. So I'm going to cut a longer strip and form the radius again the whole way so I can transfer it to the welded pieces, that back panel, and it'll be exactly the way it was. And hopefully it'll fit the way it should. Yeah, I'm going to weld it like I said before and trace the line of that step, and then bring it to the planishing hammer with a really high crown die, probably this guy here, my 3/4 radius, and just smash it along where the bead would go, or the step, and do my magic. Pull max it, smash it in, and it should be golden. Alright, so we'll get this panel off. I am getting ready to planish it out real soft. Not going to put a ton of pressure, just to even out the two panels so they are dead flat. So when I weld it, it'll be easier to finish. This is crucial. You can do this with a hammer and dolly, but I just prefer to do it most of the time with my fancy planishing hammer, courtesy of JRM Tool Company. Bam! And while I'm here, tripping over these things, not really, but if you know anything about 35, 36, or 36s, rear fenders for a coupe, roadster, cabriolet are impossible to find. And this is probably one of the best sets that have been for sale in the US as of lately. There's no rot on these at all. Original Ford paint. There is a dent down here, which is easily fixable, repairable. Then this fender is perfect. This one has a few creases in it. It's hard to see, but they're not big creases, they're light, and they should just honestly wheel out. But I gotta do the inside of them. So these are not mine. These are not my fenders. and I did not buy these. They were not cheap either. I'm not going to say how much they are, but they were expensive. Let's say that. So, and I've gotten to talking to people who are searching for 36 coupe roadster rear fenders. There's just none out there. There's a set in California right now for sale for $8,000 that you can probably assume that these were close to that price. So I am going to get bucks made. I would make them, but Ken here is an excellent woodworker, and we're going to work together in getting bucks made for the left and the right side fender. And hopefully in the future, maybe next year or so, I'm going to start reproducing these 36 coupe roadster rear fenders, since these are a perfect example and would be just the correct thing to start with to create a buck. I bought the Ron Covell DVD that goes through how to build a rear fender, and you know, lucky enough, the fender he was rebuilding was a 36 Ford rear fender. So it kind of goes in depth on this exact fender on how to make a buck for it. So yeah, I will have these made hopefully soon, because the 36 Dano with the 36 Roadster, he's not sure if he wants to go flush skirts, flush teardrop skirts, or overlay teardrop skirts. And with the overlay version, if he wants to run those, he will run these fenders. But we kind of talked him out of cutting the arch out of these to put flush mount fenders, flush mount skirts, because these are just so damn nice. That would be a shame to see these cut up. And if I have a buck made and I can reproduce this exact fender, why not just cut the teardrop shape out of one of the sets of fenders I make? It's a no-brainer. You wouldn't want to ruin these. So that's kind of the plan with these. They're going to be kicking around here. I'll probably throw them upstairs so they don't get damaged or anything accidentally, something dropped on them. So I'll have to repair those couple sections quick, and then I'll throw them upstairs. But let's plan us out some tacks. Alrighty, so I got this fully welded, and as you saw, most people when they're welding sheet metal, they jump around. To try not to keep the heat localized in an area, I guess. I don't know what they're doing. But what I've found, probably mentioned this already, but for the new people out there watching the channel, see it just a few minutes after I welded it, I can touch it. I start at one end, I finish at the other. I try to keep as even as heat as I can. From here to here was kind of awkward because I had to like stand over it, but from here on I could just kind of pull it towards me, and that was fine. That worked out the way I usually like to weld. This one, you know, it's fine, but it just looks, and it's a little less even heat. Like you can see it kind of tapers off. I used more here than I did down here, and it kind of goes back up again, but that's fine. And as you can see, especially down here, see where the heat is totally even? There's no warpage at all. There's shrinkage, but there's no warpage, which you want. You want shrinkage because that's what happens when you weld metal. It shrinks. And up here, there's more shrinkage, and there's actually shape to both of these panels, so they're kind of probably tapered into each other, which I will fix with either the English wheel or planishing hammer. That will go away, but it shrunk, and there's probably a tiny bit of warp. As you see, it's kind of like lumpy over there. You can see by the light. It's not perfect, but this is how you want sheet metal to look after you weld it. Hardly any warpage, but shrinkage. There it is. I'm going to take it to straight. I think I'm going to take it straight to the planishing hammer and see if we can do it. We're going to get this thing flat again. Not here, obviously. There's some shape here, but from here to here flat. Not so much here, because there's a curve here and it comes up this way. It's a pretty complicated piece. So let's planish it out. Alright, so as you probably saw, I went through a bunch of, not a bunch of work, but it was, you know, it took some time to make this little template that fits perfectly on that step, perfectly. You know, pre-stretch, and then bead it in or step it in. Held it up to the body and it looked like absolute dog you know what. I have no idea why. I transferred the line up 2.5 inches. That's where my backstop is. I followed the backstop the whole time. I didn't feel like I was too jumpy. And it just looked terrible. There's like a serious flat spot here. Like this side had a nice curve and then flat spotted and then kind of just dumped off at the end. I don't know. Maybe to try and figure out a different way for a backstop. Maybe that's why these weren't perfect. Well, those probably weren't perfect because I was free balling the line. But regardless, I persevered and I said, you know what? I'm just going to weld it underneath the line. And I had to go quite a bit underneath because along with the line looking like absolute crap, I must have measured wrong and I didn't leave myself enough at the bottom to hem the edge over. So I don't know. I don't know what I did, but I like messed up multiple parts of that panel to make it work with the step in there, with this detail line. So I cut it and now I'm going to weld it lower. Yes, this is what I didn't want to have, is a weld in the center of the panel and also another weld pretty much in the center of the panel. So now it's two welds in the center of the panel. But you know what? I'm good at this enough. I'm good enough at this so I can make it turn out fine. But it's just aggravating. All right, so I scribed out where the edge of the panel needs to be, right here. And I also moved out, what is that? 7/16, because my flanging dies for the Pullmax, that bend starts right just shy of a ½ an inch. So I did 7/16 all the way around all of my marks. I don't know if you can see you can see two marks right there. It's kind of faint at some places, kind of hard to see a scribe mark on camera, but it's there. And you know, I'm gonna cut it out, notch my corners, and hopefully flange this correctly. So I'll tip the edges 90 degrees, and I will have to either shrink or stretch the edge depending on what it needs to meet the contour of the body, because it has a curve in it now. So when I bend the flange, it's gonna want to distort it. It's just the nature of it. but it should be relatively easy. I always stress about actually when it comes time to folding the hem fully over. I don't know, it just stresses me out. Right, we are back at it today. As you saw last night, I was hemming or flanging the edge of this rear door skin. So as you see now, it has the flange raised up, and honestly it's pretty much where can you see it? Pretty much on that scribe line that I made. So it worked out pretty good. And it is actually, it flanged a little more than my scribe line. Oh, there you go. A little more than my scribe line. But that's good, because I'd rather have a little bit more gap on the edges of the door than not enough. So I think I might have to mess with one side here. This passenger side looked like it matched up really nice with that opening, but the driver's side looked like it was a little off, but it might be because the flange isn't bent 90 degrees evenly. So we'll see once I take the hand hammer to it and start slowly working it over past 90, probably, I don't even know what that is. Not 180. I don't know, 135 degrees or something. Just kind of going this way, ready to go flat. I'll check it again and I'll show you guys the fitment here. But the bottom should be fine. And then after it's hemmed at 135-ish, I will scribe and mark this panel wherever, you know, we think we need to get the fitment we want. So I'll initially kind of mark where this will go on here, mark a couple inches under, cut it, just so we can kind of overlap and not have to worry about the rest of it, the panel, interfering with stuff. But yeah, let me start hammering away on this this door skin. See if we can't get that edge hemmed over. I also actually have to run it quickly either through the English wheel with the wheel on an angle to get in here, or I'll turn the planishing hammer on quick to flatten these out, because the die, it's totally my fault. But since this panel is curved and it kind of goes every which way, like it's curved this way and it's also curved this way and it goes this way, I didn't exactly hold it level every time, and this was kind of bang, 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 smacking it sometimes. So there's like, there's a little mark kind of like here where it's a little indentation, I guess you would call it. It's not like a mark, like a dig mark where it won't come out. It's just like a little crease that I need to fix. So I'll probably just tilt the wheel like this, boop, lift this side up, just kind of lightly go in there and smooth that out all along the edge, and it should be perfect. If that doesn't work, I'll take a planishing hammer to it, but that should be all right. Then we'll get there. One of these days I'll dress this weld. I think I really only need to take the DA to it, honestly. And it might, like I said before, a little high spot here in the center. I think I stretched it out too much. I didn't need as much stretch as I gave it. So I'll just hit it with the shrinking disc quick, and that should, you know, flatten that right out. But other than that, I'm pretty pleased with it. We'll see how it welds to the door and how we can get it to fit in the opening. But other than that, it seems like it's coming out pretty good. All right, everybody, here it is. Cleat code to the door that has been cut. Gap looked pretty good to me. Just gotta do a little final tweaking after I weld it to the door, but seems to be fitting pretty good. He is, however, I know some of you guys don't like this, but it's how it came from the factory, and there's nothing wrong with it. There's going to be wood in here again, like it was on the door jambs and along the side there. He's a woodworker and he does a fantastic job, and it's going to come out awesome, and there's nothing wrong with it. So all you guys say go steel, ditch the wood. Yes, I understand that, but at the same time, if you do a good job putting the wood back in there, I don't see an issue with that. So he's going to do the wood, so I'm not worrying about these hinge holes yet. I'm going to leave them bare, non-existent, and we will go from there. Once he gets all the wood installed and has the door jambs that I fixed in the previous video in there, nailed to the wood, screwed to the wood, whatever he does, then we'll start fitting the hinges to the door, etc., etc. So what I'm really actually only going to do is weld this door, finish the weld off, clean up those pieces. They're kind of like the door jamb for the door, not the body. I don't know how to explain it. The sides of the door, because right now it's just a skin. So there's the side and the panel that I haven't made yet, which is the inner door skin. Which, now that I'm saying this out loud, I don't think I'm going to make the inner either, because there's no telling where the latch is going to be. I can kind of guess, but I don't want to do it wrong, or have to do it twice. So let's do it once and just do the skin, leave it cleat-coat on here, or just leave it alone, fill the cleat-coat holes, just finish this door skin off, and just kind of put it in the back. Not sure. I'll talk to Ken about it. He should be here today. So let's start welding. it is hot in here, as you can tell, sweating, dirty, but we're getting a lot of stuff done. Last you saw, I was welding the rear door panel on, and that thing's coming out pretty good. Not that I'm surprised, but I'm kind of surprised. So, last you saw, I was welding it. I have finished off the weld, hit it in the planishing hammer, so it is relatively flat, good enough for this job. The gaps seem pretty good, enough for body work. And what's the same on this side. So this rear door skin is finished, other than maybe you have to fix a little piece here where the hinge dropped down and cut out this hinge. We're shaving the center hinge, so we're just going to use top and bottom. And yeah, so next week I will start on the inner structure here of the door. The sides, like the sill plates, I'll have to bang those out, hammer them, weld them, because they're all ripped apart, just like the door sills were. Body doors, I don't even know what these things are called. I'm probably confusing you guys, but regardless, I gotta fix some stuff. And then, well, we crossed off rear fenders because he's buying new fenders, which is good. Bad for me to lose money, but good for him because he doesn't spend more money than he has to. It's a rear door. Almost crossing that off because I got to do the inner structure. Exhaust has a question mark on it, whether I can get to it or not. It would have been easier when I had the floors not in to get all the way around the pipe, because I obviously do not have a lift. It's gonna be a pain to get that, but I might be able to do it. He's bringing down front fenders tonight, so the front inner fenders will be able to be made. I need to make some braces for underneath the front floor to prevent it from oil canning, and to mount the seat on. And that's it. He'll be bringing it back probably for something. You know, that's just how it is with full builds like this. But yeah, that's the rear door. Thanks for liking, commenting, subscribing, clicking on the bell, sharing my videos. I appreciate it. See you in the next video.